Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Ask the Experts. My name is Hassani.
I'm Jeff.
And we're here for every single weekday, every single week, bro. You got to come with it. But listen, we're here for each and every one of you. We've been gone for a couple of weeks. Just took a little hiatus. We were dealing with some things, but we are back and ready to engage in conversation. Ask the Experts is where we bring on members of our team to really answer your questions, whatever your questions may be. Maybe you're single and alone, or you're dating, you're in a committed courtship, you're engaged or married. Maybe you're experiencing challenges in your marriage, communication, finances, whatever the case may be, but we are here to serve you. So what we want you to do not wait till halfway into the show. We want to hit it hard. You ask your question, we give an answer, we go on to the next question. We're here to serve you. So don't tiptoe, tap dance, or pussyfoot around this opportunity. Post your questions so that we can get it in. Before we do so, Jeff, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How was your holiday?
Christmas was amazing. We did something uniquely different. We did like a Caribbean dinner, and we did it outdoors because, we're here in Atlanta, Georgia. The weather was phenomenal. And then we had how when you go on a date with your wife, you do like a sip and paint. Well, we did a sip and paint, but we were drinking apple cider, with the family. And we all had our easels and we were outside in the Bombay room and just painted these amazing. So it was quality time. It was delicious food. We opened up gifts. It was just a full day. Then we went on a journey with the dog. We went on a trail walk. So we were just connecting in a different way just to create a different experience for Christmas. How was your Christmas?
Well, it was different. All three of my kids had COVID, so it was a little bit interesting. Yeah, I made it through without it, but they had COVID. But we still had fun. We just masked them up, and everybody got tested afterwards, and everybody's clear now. But they were just coming off the end of COVID, so it was an interesting Christmas. We still did our big dinner, but it was just us five. You normally have guests over, so.
Okay. Well, we hope that your children have a speedy recovery. That's always important. Listen, guys, here's your questions. Let's get into it. We have one question from Kayla. We need help. How do we get a hold of you? I'm assuming you're talking about. Well, the way that you get a hold of us is simply by going to couplesacademy.org. That is our website, couplesacademy.org. And when you go there, you can set up a discovery call. It is a free 15-minute discovery call where we can hear about your situation and walk you through some options that may serve you best. It would be most ideal for you and your spouse to be on that call so that we can hear from the both of you and kind of navigate you through a process. So once again, couplesacademy.org, that's where you want to go in order to have your particular issue addressed. Okay, good evening. What does one do when it feels like one's spouse doesn't allow for growth? Okay, that's an interesting question. So when you say it doesn't allow for growth, meaning he's not interested in growing, or is he trying to stifle your progress and keep you from growing? I'm not sure what you mean. I guess you're saying if he doesn't allow for his own personal growth. Well, someone once said that your soulmate can become your cellmate when one of you refuses to grow. As we've said before, the sexiest attribute on the planet Earth is a commitment to personal growth and self-development, because it means that you're always becoming the best version of yourself, which means you're becoming someone new and different in your journey. How miserable would it be to be in a relationship with someone for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and while life has gone on, they are still stuck in their ways? It would almost be like they're wearing bell bottoms, they got an afro, they're listening to 8-track tapes, they haven't adjusted and become highly adaptable to the times. Well, oftentimes people can be the same way when it comes to being stuck in who they are. Jeff, I want to go to you, but this is what I'll say. I hear people say when we do counseling all the time, well, that's just how my mama raised me, and that's just how my folks raised me, and that's what it was. So what you're saying is, if you left your parents' home at the age of 18 and now you're 48, it means that you're an 18-year-old boy in a 48-year-old body. You haven't grown since you left your mama's house? That's a problem. So being on a path of personal growth and self-development is critically important. But what I will say to you is that you should not stop your growth Okay. Because when you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, your spouse is going to have to respond to you differently, adjust to how he approaches you because you're changing. And your individual personal change will result in some type of shift or possible change or improvement in your partner. Okay. Jeff, how would you weigh in on that?
Well, I also want to throw at just a little bit of caution, because when me and my wife got married, I was always pushing her to grow, read this book, do this thing. It's just not her thing. It's just not who she is. But I will say this, I had to recognize really quick that she was a lot more mature in the relationship than I ever was in the beginning. And so while I was committed to personal growth and business and this and the other thing, she already was in a stable position. So sometimes we have to look at it from all angles, right? And see it from all angles. Uh, my wife is very traditional, very, very old fashioned traditional, takes care of house and home, doesn't have a lot of ambition, doesn't have a lot of aspirations towards starting businesses and or growing or working or any of that. She's about taking care of home and family. And since it's a place of maturity already, I had to learn to just become not just satisfied with that, but actually I celebrate it now because everything I need is taken care of, and she's everything I need as a person. So I think we have to look at it from a couple different ways. Yeah, we should definitely be looking towards growth, but also, is the person that they are stable already? If they're already stable, do we need anything more?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and I hear your point. I hear your point. And sometimes it's accepting a person for who they are. Is there them not opening themselves up for growth? How is that impacting the marriage? How is it impacting the family, the home?
Exactly.
If it's having an impact, then it's worthy of making shifts and changes. If
Absolutely.
it's not, but just your preference, then, the thing is, I can't make my wife want what I want. I can't make her love what I love. I've got to accept that we are different, have different interests, different motivations. And just because I'm on a path doesn't mean that she has. So it's really case by case and situational. And I think it's important to understand the relational dynamics going on in that household to determine whether it's something that really needs to be pursued. And maybe you can seek some help outside of, just normal conversations to kind of shift things in a positive direction. So hopefully that helps. Okay, now the questions are coming in. All right, here we go. And I'm reading this real time, guys. So just bear with me. Kayla, okay, he has been unfaithful, but I forgave him, started healing, and
Got married in August.
15, 2021. 3 boys, oldest is 4, been together for almost 8 years. We both were in recovery, drug of choice, meth. He relapsed on alcohol and on
Our wedding, his mom died.
Okay. Yeah, guys, just type slowly because, I'm that guy. I'm going to read exactly what comes up. And if it sounds, there it is. Just type slowly. All right. If we've been to a different intensive, should we go to another or what? I want to come to Eden. That's a very, very good question. This is what I will say to you. And Jeff, you can weigh in. Just because something is called an intensive doesn't mean you're getting the same thing just by a different person in another place. It's interesting because what I know, there are about 5, maybe 6 organizations or individuals who specialize in betrayal recovery. I'm going to broaden it and say betrayal because infidelity, it's a type of betrayal, but there are others. And what we have found is that while many people are now kind of getting on board with doing intensives, people call intensives all type of things. People call a 4-hour session an intensive, an 8-hour session an intensive. People have intensives that are specific to different things. What we do is entirely different. I think we developed a model that tremendously works, and it's a comprehensive approach because we take a hybrid approach by bringing in counseling and coaching, which is completely different. And we have a number of modalities that we incorporate into our process that is completely different from the traditional marriage counseling, which I think adds a whole lot to the process. And in addition to having group sessions, we also have private individual sessions where you're assigned to a particular therapist for the entire weekend, a practitioner for the entire weekend. And then we have experiential learning, which is on a whole nother level, which we can never talk about until you get there.
Not ready for that.
About it would rob you of the experience. Jeff, jump in, weigh in, and share with her what makes this uniquely different.
Okay, so there is a lot of thought put into the structure of how this works and how it literally takes you from the final conversation that you're going to have about whatever problems you have in the past to working on a day of tools that can help for you now to understand the structure and to help you build for the future. This is something I've never seen before. I'm very happy to be a part of it. This was not my plan to ever get into any kind of marriage coaching or counseling. I do men. That's what I do, manhood. But I am ecstatic. Like, the tears are flowing every time I go there, and I don't cry. Like, till I went there, I honestly probably hadn't cried in years. Just to see how couples go from literally hating each other when they walk in the door. Like, last time we had 6 couples that were literally living separated, and some of them had been as long as 6 months separated when they came to the event. Every single couple went home together, and they're still talking today as a group in the chats on what actually happened and transpired during this process. I want you to understand, when we say intensive, we actually calculated this out. You are getting 6 months of counseling without any distractions or any disturbance within the course of one weekend. These are 10 and 12-hour intense days of walking through things that are going to help you in your marriage. I cannot tell you how much this is different than almost anything I've ever seen. And I am really, really proud to be a part of it. I've contributed a part of this, but I've really got to look at the brilliance of Hassani and his wife and how they put this whole thing together. It's pretty amazing.
Well, we're humbled by that, but
show up January 6th.
January 7th.
7th.
I'm humbled by that, but you are a major contributor, and without your involvement, your expertise, your perspective, it would be missing something. And I think that's another thing that really speaks volumes about this intensive. It's not a Hassani and Danielle show, though we do have a lot of great content, and we've been doing this for over a decade now. To bring in experts in other fields with other perspectives that complement what we have makes it that much more powerful. So listen, there's really nothing to think about. Save your coins, do what you have to do, and get to this intensive. We have many more questions. My husband and daughter don't want anything to do with each other. She is not his daughter. So how do I navigate the separate relationships? Holiday time is very difficult for me. There's a lot of questions that I have about your question that is kind of hard to do over a show. Number one, what is the age of this daughter? Does this daughter live inside the home? Does this daughter, is she an adult and lives outside of the home? Because the advice that I would give you is completely different. You said, hold on. My husband and daughter, okay, they don't want to have anything to do with it. My question then is, did your husband help raise that child? At what age was the husband brought into that relationship? Because
25 and as an adult, that changes the whole game.
That changes the game. How long has the husband been involved in that child's life? From a child, from teenage? I mean, all of these things. So you have to understand, I'm actually doing a private marriage intensive literally next week. And the biggest issue that they have in their marriage is the blended family. Remember, we talk about the top 5 things that couples struggle with: sex, communication, money, in-laws, and parenting, right? So in-law / parenting is what they're coming to an intensive for. It may seem like a simple question, and I don't want to complicate it, but the answer can be very, very different based upon a number of different things.
Yes, he helped me raise her since she was 2.
Okay, so then I would have to ask the question, well, what are the challenges that have occurred since the age of 2 to 25 that has them at odds with one another? Have you two, as spouses, been on the same page in your parenting? Because oftentimes the issue and challenge with the child is influenced by how the parental dynamic, in terms of how you two parent together, a child or anyone, if they see that there's a wedge between the two of you, they will manipulate that wedge as best they can. I'm telling you. I'm challenging you by asking you questions, and I would want to know more before I just give you an answer, because somebody else who has a parenting issue may hear what I say and apply it to their situation, but their dynamics and circumstances are completely different. So what I would have you do, I need you to hear me, sis. At the bottom of the screen, it says set up a discovery call. That's the website. When you go on the website, it'll allow you to have a 15-minute discovery call where we can talk about your situation. That's what I would advise, as opposed to giving an answer over this platform, because there's too many questions I have about your situation, and I want to make sure I'm hitting you where you are at. Does that make sense? Okay. My husband has a female friend. I asked you, how can I get through to him? How much it hurts. You asked me before, was I still doing things for him, rewarding his bad behavior? I was. And then it goes on to say, I realize that now, but now how far do I go? Because pulling back is helping, but we are still not in a good place. Okay. So number one, when he has, it's almost like he has a deaf ear to what it is that you're talking about, your concerns. And so sometimes hearing the same message through another voice can be powerful. What I would encourage you to do, go to Couples Academy's YouTube website. We have over 400 videos. We have a playlist. I would encourage you to search out opposite sex friends. Multiple videos will pop up. And I would encourage you
relationship, that's a good video too.
Which one?
The close call relationships.
19 signs of a close call relationship. I was in South Africa and I was speaking to a group, and we were talking about opposite sex friends and what impact that has on a relationship. So there's a number of videos that you can share with them, and you know what? Learn together, watch together, get insight together. That may help change it, as opposed to him hearing it from you. And then the other thing is, let's start some counseling. Let's do a session. Let's talk about what impact that is having on you and what appropriate interaction should be with members of the opposite sex this point forward. I hope that helps to give you an answer. Kay here, how long is too long to be in a marriage where your spouse has not gotten therapy?
Therapy for what is the first thing? It's like, what is the issue at hand that you need to ask? I mean, there's a culture in this world that thinks therapy is the answer for everything, and it's not. But you really have to have an issue, a specific issue that therapy is relevant to, right? I mean, wouldn't you agree? It's something like we don't know enough here from that statement.
I agree.
Is there an infidelity? Is it psychological, neurological? Is it, there's more information that's needed.
There really is. So guys, when you ask your questions, if it's too broad, make it a little bit more specific. In what areas are you seeking therapy? Because we want to give you answers. And so what we're going to do, listen, you're watching Ask the Experts. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. Continue to post your questions. We'll be back in just a minute. Stay right there. All right, guys, we're back. You're watching Ask the Experts, and on the other side of this, we were, talking about how long should you be in a marriage if there hasn't been any therapy. And the question was there an affair? We don't know. The answer is yes. And so, listen, it seems as though he may be resistant to getting counseling, and it has kept you in a stuck place. So the question is, how long do you stay in a marriage if there is no therapy? Well, therapy is not the goal. The goal is restoration, transformation, healing in your relationship. Therapy is the method to get there, right? It's not the end, it's the means to get to the end. And so, there's a video that we did some time ago that's entitled, "You Will Continue to Cheat Again Unless You Do These 6 Things." And therapy is one of those things, but there are a variety of other things that maybe he may be motivated or inspired to do first that can initially lead to going to some type of therapy. But this is what I would say. When a person's completely resistant, I say, listen, your number one objective should be to get him or her on the phone with me. The discovery calls are done by me. I have a conversation with either your spouse, or both of you together. And sometimes having a one-on-one conversation with your partner where you're not there, and we're able to talk through things, and I'm able to give a different perspective of how important working with someone can be. Some people are thrown off by the term therapy or counseling. Well, we can use the word coaching, because guess what? Anybody who's successful has a coach. If you are in corporate America, you may have a mentor or a coach that helps you through your journey. If you're in business and you want to perform well, you may get a business coach. If you're in the gym and you want to accelerate, you get a fitness coach. You get a nutritional coach. There's all types of coaches. And so there's no negative stigma attached to that. And so maybe that's the appropriate language. And then you have certain people, you can't tell them nothing. I ain't going to go to no other grown person to tell them we can figure this thing out on our own, but it hasn't been working. So what I would encourage you to do, make your number one focus to get him on the phone with me, and let's navigate a conversation and see what can happen from that point. Kayla Martinez, I see your question. You see that number at the bottom of the screen, 678-200-8996. Text me right now that same question and I will respond to you. All right. Another question. My husband says that marriage is easy. Is that a fact or a myth? What say you, Jeff?
I say it can be simple. I would never say it's easy. It doesn't have to be complicated. I will say that for most people, because we weren't given proper examples of what a marriage could be, not just should be, but could be. We weren't given those proper examples. So it makes it a little more difficult. But once you reach a point of understanding what it takes to create a successful marriage, once you have some of the things that that you teach in the Last Chance Week, because that's my most experience with you, Sonny, is with those. It can be simpler than what most people experience. I mean, it's kind of difficult to say because the numbers are in America right now are against us, right? But you and I both have been married for 20 years exactly. And it wasn't always easy, but I think we're on the other side of it. Like we were sitting there laughing about the other day, that was actually at the Last Chance Weekend, about how long it's been since we've been in a real argument. And actually, I broke that habit. The only argument I've actually been in was with my wife when we had COVID. So that happened recently. When my kids had COVID, I got into an argument with her over her going in the rooms and being affectionate with them. Now that is an argument worth having. And that is the only argument in the last 3 years that I can remember.
Wow. Well, you better than me, bro.
It can be simple.
That is awesome. You haven't had an argument in 3 years. Was it 3 days? Right. So Trying to figure that one
I
out.
mean, little arguments like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but nothing like knock down, drag out, yelling at each other.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, we haven't had that in a long time as well. So here's another great question. What are the different ways a spouse can cheat? That's a very good question. I'll start off and then you could piggyback, Jeff. So this is what I would say. If a person is given their sexual, emotional, or social energy to any other opposite sex person outside of their spouse, that's cheating, that's infidelity, that is betrayal. So it's not just sex. It can be emotional. Matter of fact, there's a couple I'm working with now, and she clearly said, listen, if he had sex with them, I could deal with that better than the fact that he's emotionally connecting to other women. That hurts more. It's more of a betrayal to me that there's a heart-to-heart connection than just him using his physical body. Now, you may be listening to that and you may think the exact opposite. For you, you could deal with, okay, fine, great, you connected, you had great conversations, but you gave that person your body. Or for others, listen, we don't date, we don't get together, we don't talk, we don't congregate, we don't do anything. But you are having secret interactions, going to lunch and texting and having conversations. That social element we don't even have, those are all forms of betrayal. So whatever falls under those three categories are different ways that one can cheat. Jeff, what say you?
Well, I say that there's an underlying cause always in this, and sometimes it's self-generated, sometimes it's generated between both partners, and sometimes it's generated on the other side. Now, I find that men tend to use several different things in escapes. See, we get away from some of the other escapes that men do besides just cheating with emotionally or sexually with other women. Sometimes it's alcohol. Sometimes it can be physical abuse. Sometimes it can be drugs. There's ways that men sedate from not being able to achieve what they want in their own personal lives. And one of those, and sometimes that's achieving their personal life within the relationship. And they use this sedation, they use some form of sedation, and that does manifest itself as cheating very often. And that's very unfortunate. But like the ways that people cheat, I mean, there's that you can actually cheat on your relationship by just not being present. I hate to put it that way, but
Yeah, you're cheating them out of something. Yeah.
You're cheating them out of the connection that could be. And sometimes that infidelity happens on the other side of the equation. The one person is physically cheating. The other person has been cheating for years, locking that person out of their lives. And these are discussions that need to be had.
Absolutely. I agree with you 1000%, Jeff. Roxanne, my husband and I have went through him cheating again. It's been 2 times before, and this time was emotional. It has been 6 months since I found out, and I want a divorce. Well, we're heartbroken by what you're sharing. Listen, before you make that decision, because a divorce is not an easy decision to make. A lot has to come to a person when they've reached that point. Please reach out to us. Set up a discovery call. That number at the bottom, you can text or you can go to the website, and we would love to talk with you about options and seeing if there's anything that can be done to restore the relationship. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in tonight. Tune in tomorrow at 9:00 sharp for another episode of Ask the Experts. We love you, and we will see you soon.